Battery died while I was recording last night. Did a couple things off camera I will go through with you now. So here's the Fender Eliminator bracket. So you have your turn signal screwed into one side, going up through this little hole, something on the other side. And you also have your license plate light. So all of these will be bunched together and will travel up the center as hidden as possible, and then zip tied at this top portion. Now for the bracket, here's what I did. There was this raised portion of the under tray here that I had to cut away to get this to fit. So keep that in mind. If you do something like this, you might have to do some alterations to your tray. It's going to fit in just like that. I made the holes a little bit bigger than what they need to be, so that way I have some room for flexibility. So if I need to move it, turn it, adjust it. And I also included a nice big gaping hole for my wiring. So what I'm going to do now is just add some wire extensions to all these. Alright, so here's what I came up with. Here are the zip ties holding all the wires in place. Then your zip tie up here. And these are all the wires coming out for the tune turn signals and the plate light. I have them organized, 3 pairs. Your left, your right, which I left unmarked, then your plate light. So let's see if we can't get this thing kind of hooked up. This is going to be a lot of juggling. Placement's not horrible.
Softly on the ground, just enough to get not tell the truth at all.
It's on there pretty straight. It doesn't look super crooked. So I'm going to tighten these down, tighten the arms down, and then we can get into the wiring. Alright, it's bolted in. It's not going anywhere. Now it's time to start the wiring. I'm going to do the easy one first, license plate light. So to do this, I'm going to be stealing the license plate light connector, which is this guy right here, off at the old whale tail. And then whenever I go to do the turn signals, I'm going to be hardwiring in my quick connectors. I couldn't think of the word for a second. So I'll be getting rid of these. They'll all be sharing some kind of ground. Alright, before I tape these up, I do want to plug it in, make sure it works. Do want to make sure we don't have our connections touching or flying anywhere. Yay, we have our lights, and holy shoot, that's bright. It does look pretty good. Muy bueno. I'm going to electrical tape these up real fast, and then I'm going to work on the turn signals. I'm going to hardwire the negative points of 2 of my connectors into this ground connection, and then the positives for each one are going to go into here, your left and your right. So once I get all this wired in, I will get back to you. Alright, all of my connections are done. So we have the brake lights, we have the turn signals for the brake light, which are piggybacked together. So the positives for the brake light turn signals and the Fender Eliminator turn signals are connected to the same wires. And then I have separate ground wires connected to each other. And then of course the plate light. So this is a mess, and I'll be organizing it shortly, but just to show you, there you go. Kind of bothers me. It kind of bothers me how the brake light turn signal kind of stops before the plate turn signal stops. But what are you going to do? I'm going to be cleaning this up, routing it in ways that it's out of the way and not a huge hassle. The next thing on my list is to install this LED kit. I'm excited for this one. Alright, so this LED kit, let's talk about how it works. It's a remote kit. Comes with a remote to turn on or off and adjust the colors. I also have a switch I will be showing you a little bit later that I want to use as a actual hardwire manual switch. So the way it works is you have this control box which gets power, then plugs into this harness which plugs into all of your LEDs that you'd like to use. Before I go about installing LEDs where I want them, I need to test this, make sure it works. So the wires coming out of here, you have an antenna wire for your remote control, separate harness wire. Now here's the interesting thing. On this particular model, you have a black ground wire, red power wire, and then this white wire that they say is supposed to connect to your brake light. That could mean one of a few different things. That could mean that A, this LED kit functions as a brake light kit, where when you have it hardwired in, the lights turn on, and then when this receives power, it amplifies the voltage, allowing them to be brighter. Or this could be a separate switch so that this LED system can always remain plugged in to your power, but won't actually display any lights until your brake light turns on. I do not know, so we're gonna have to test it first. So I think to test it, what I'm going to do is hardwire these into my battery, see if it turns on. That way we know it's definitely getting power. And if it's not getting power, then I'll try hardwiring this into my brake light to see if it turns on then. I'll get back to you whenever this is done. Alright, so I have this crudely connected. This is definitely not how it's going to stay connected. I will have a different method for doing that. But if I press this D button, boom! My LED comes on. I have the mysterious brake light not plugged into anything, but I wonder what happens if we hook it up to power. Nothing. Yeah, nothing happens. I think this is a pointless wire. Just to double check though, I'm gonna clear off that soldered wire at the end there. Turn it on. See if we get anything. Nope. Nothing. I think this is a pointless wire. Now, what I also discovered, which is good, is that if you leave it in the on position and you disconnect the ground, it comes undone, right? So it comes back on, which is good. So when you disconnect it from power and turn it back on, it still automatically comes back, which is what I want. So I can install my manual switch, so whenever I use that manual switch, it still turns itself off and back on. The only thing that might suck about using the manual switch is that whenever you turn it off and back on, it seems to reset it, which starts it at green and then goes back to the color you originally had selected. But it's whatever. Since this does come on and off without the remote, we can use this switch I bought. Now, I do want to preface and mention that this is a dumb switch. This is purely for shits and giggles. You can use the remote that comes with the kit to turn your LEDs on and off. You don't need to have a switch, but I wanted a switch like this and the ability to change the color of my LEDs. So this is a ceiling fan pull switch, and it's really dumb. I understand that. I plan on installing it somewhere back here so you can just those LEDs on and off while the bike is on. Again, really dumb, but something I've always wanted to do. Now these switches are really simple to install. They're just a bridge between your positive or negative connection. Beautiful. So you have this little cap that unscrews. And you have to drill a hole in your tray, and this will sit in, and then you screw this cap up on top of it to fasten it, and then you can turn your stuff on and off. To clean things up, since I'm not going to be using this white wire for anything apparently, I'm just going to cut it so we don't have to worry about it. What we can do is we can just wrap our antenna wire around it. We're going to have to find a place to place this where it can reach our connection that we choose. Ideally, I wanted to place it somewhere down here. I actually have this little strip right here that'd be perfect for it. So it can sit there, and then the switch can sit right here. And then, should everything reach, fit our wiring somewhere over here. So I'm gonna get all this wired up correctly, and then get back to you. I have a migraine right now. It's really hard for me to record with this camera on my forehead. Okay, I took some medicine, and I feel better, and I set this LED harness up. I didn't plug in all of the LEDs yet, but it would help if I actually had an example LED to show you. Here's the LED I'll be showing you as an example, so watch this. So when the bike is on, nothing happens, right? But when you pull this little switch, that's awesome. That's my favorite thing ever. That makes me so happy. I wonder if it saves the color you pick. Let's just, for shits and giggles, pick bright blue. Turn it off. Goes to green. Yes, it does save the last color you picked. And there's so many colors to choose from. Beautiful. This is the best. Now if I have it in the off position, I turn it off, and then I turn it back on. Okay, so it does save your setting, but if you reconnect it, it's going to flash green to signify that it's on, and then go to your setting. It has about a second or two leeway, but So I have the box mounted right here. I have my switch mounted right here. Yeah, not the most secure thing in the world, but it'll do, at least for now. I can always glue it in place or something if I need to. I have that piggybacked into my license plate light, actually. Now, as far as placement goes, I will be using 6 strips out of the 12 that they include. I am going to use 2 baby ones, 2 of the longest ones. Then you have a couple other ones. My very small baby ones will be going inside here, so that way the vent glows with the LED color. Only thing I recommend with these, I've used a lot of LED kits from different manufacturers, different brands. No matter what brand I use, I always throw a couple drops of like gel super glue to help adhere the strip to where I want it to go. It's still removable, but this 3M stuff tends to fade away, especially in humid or wet weather conditions. I've had them fall. Then once these fall off and deteriorate, they're a pain in the ass to get the stick back. Typically you have to use more glue or just buy new LEDs. Not to mention you have to re-clean the entire surface, sometimes sand down the surface that you were working on. So let's use a couple drops of super glue along the strip, so that way they never fall off, at least not for a long time. So I'm gonna go ahead, get my strips placed where I wanted and hooked up, and I'll get back to you whenever that's done. I did want to mention before I continue to the other ones, if you have a kit like this and say the kit only came with like 2 of these small ones and you needed more of them, but you didn't need like these like longer ones, or like if you only needed 3 LEDs, you can actually cut these right where the brass is. There's actually a little, I don't know if you can see that little line going down the center of the brass or copper or whatever it is, but you can cut it there and you can make your strip have only 3, or say I needed 6, or like I had this longer one and 18 was too long, but I could do like 15. Alright, I have it mostly wrapped up here. I do for now have all these extra connections coming out. I have to either clip them or hide them. I don't think I'm really going to use them. I changed the silver chain to a gold one, and if you turn the bike on and you pull this down, the LEDs come on. So I have the 2 in the back, I have 1 on each side and the front, and then the fairing ones have the LED strips sitting right here, and then those caps will go on, so that way the vents will glow. So yeah, that's gonna be it for now. I'm just waiting on my pilot jets to come in, whenever the hell they do. There's really no telling. I don't know why it's taken so long for them to get here. They've been in transport to the destination distribution center for like 5 days now. So yeah, I will see you whenever I get those jets in.